All right, leaders, here's a report that just came out in the New York Times from author Charles Duhigg, the guy who wrote the book about habits. And it's a study on Google and how Google sort of wanted to figure out the perfect team culture. And of course, they have the money to do that kind of a study. And what they came up with were two keys to better teams. So I want you to think about this with your team in mind. And when we say better, we're talking about being more productive, right? This is still the business world. So we're not talking about just that, everybody loves going to work, but really we're talking about bottom line, more effective, more productive teams. What are those two keys? Well, first of all, they noticed that no matter how much the researchers arranged the data, it was impossible to find patterns or any evidence that the composition of a team made any difference. So they looked at all these different teams and they really struggled with figuring out what made the good teams good and the bad teams bad. There was a lot of overlapping of characteristics. And they couldn't figure it out until, of course, they did. They boiled it down to these two things. And I wonder if you can see these two characteristics on your team. The first thing, I call it distributed conversations. That when the teams would come together to meet, that everyone participated in the meeting, in the conversation. Members spoke in roughly the same proportion, a phenomenon that the researchers referred to as equality and distribution of conversational turn taking, right? Or just distributed conversation. Now, on some teams, maybe think about it, your workplace, some teams are great at this. On some teams, you've got dominators. The best teams had distributed conversation. And the second thing that they noticed is what they call social sensitivity, that members on the team, get this, actually cared about each other, right? They were skilled at intuiting how others felt based on their tone of voice, their expressions, and other non-verbal cues. Again, I want you to think about your team. On your team, do you have people around the table who actually pay attention to one another, who actually listen to one another, who give other people an opportunity to talk and an opportunity to express their feelings or emotion, or do they just railroad and try to come in and get the job done? These two keys, distributed conversation and social sensitivity, are the two things, after all the study and all the money, that Google figured out. And I'm going to boil it down to an even more simple statement. If you want more productive teams, build a culture where people matter, not just where productivity matters, but where people matter. Because what Google figured out is if you build a culture where people matter, then you will get productivity as well. If you build a culture where only productivity matters, you won't get either one.